Hello and welcome to D&D Academia. This episode is all about the shape-changing monstrosity, the Mimic. A basic Mimic has the challenge rating of 2, natural armor class of 12, and 58 hit points. They have a speed of 15 feet, dark vision of 60 feet. As for languages, technically none, but some can learn to speak and understand them. They have a damage immunity of acid, and they are immune to being prone. The Mimic has a shape changer ability where it can use its action to polymorph into an object or back into its true amorphous form, which no one really knows what it looks like. Its statistics are the same in each form, and the equipment it is wearing or carrying isn't transformed. It reverts to its true form if it dies. It has an adhesive ability, which only works in its object form. With this ability, it adheres to anything that touches it. A huge or smaller creature adhered to the Mimic is also grappled by it and needs a DC 13 athletics check to escape. Ability checks made to escape this grapple have disadvantage. The Mimic has a +5 to stealth checks, which definitely aids in its false appearance ability while resembling an object. While the Mimic remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from an ordinary object. It also gets a grappler ability where the Mimic has advantage on attack rolls against any creature grappled by it. As for its actions, it has a pseudopod and bite attacks. The pseudopod is a melee weapon attack with a +5 to hit and a reach of 5 feet on one target. When it hits, it does 1d8 +3 bludgeoning damage. If the Mimic is in object form, the target is subjected to its adhesive trait. The bite attack is also a melee weapon attack with a +5 to hit and a reach of 5 feet on one target. The damage is 1d8 +3 piercing damage plus 1d8 acid damage. The lore for Mimics goes as such. Mimics are shape-shifting predators, able to take on the form of inanimate objects to lure creatures to their doom. In dungeons, these cunning creatures most often take the form of doors and chests, having learned that such forms attract a steady stream of prey. Mimics can alter their outward texture to resemble wood, stone, and other basic materials, and they have evolved to assume the appearance of objects that other creatures are likely to come into contact with. A Mimic in its altered form is nearly unrecognizable until potential prey blunders into its reach, whereupon the monster sprouts pseudopods and attacks. When it changes shape, a Mimic excretes an adhesive that helps it seize prey and weapons that touch it. The adhesive is absorbed when the Mimic assumes its amorphous form, and on parts the Mimic uses to move itself. Mimics tend to live and hunt alone, though they occasionally share their feeding grounds with other creatures. Although most Mimics have only predatory intelligence, a rare few evolve greater cunning and the ability to carry on simple conversations in common or undercommon. Such Mimics might allow safe passage through their domains or provide useful information in exchange for food. Many things could be a Mimic. A chest, a chair, a book, a wall. Or this, or that, or this, or that, or this, or that, or this, or that, or this, or these. Something else fun for you to think about is how exactly do Mimics get around? Do they use their pseudopods to pull themselves? Do they grow appendages or talons to walk around on? As for how to use them in your game, there are many options. There is, of course, just having them be classic objects. Maybe the group has somehow befriended one, and it has now become their means of transportation. Maybe the gold coins the group has found when they killed the mimic is actually its offspring that are faking being coins so they can be dispersed other places. What if a mimic is faking being a mirror, and the reflection looks like whoever looks into it, but with multiple eyes or sharp teeth, as the mimic can't quite make the reflection perfect? What about a mimic that is a boat, that is going from port to port, eating whatever and whoever it can? Perhaps there is an entire town of mimics that is either friendly to the people living there or is a tourist trap. Who knows, you may end up even fighting a mimic house. Oh look, a door appears in the middle of nowhere. It draws the party's attention. And guess what? It ends up being a mimic. One suggestion that can definitely be fun is have the group befriend a mimic. And this one is able to identify magic items for them. The group just has to place the item in its mouth, and the mimic takes 10 minutes to identify the item. There are endless possibilities for using mimics. Perhaps you will start using them in your games. Don't worry, I am of course not a mimic trying to convince you to use more mimics in your game. That would be crazy. Well, that is our discussion on mimics. See you all later.